Elinor sat by her window. Rain fell on the glass. Her left leg ached like it always did. "Look at her," her mother said behind her. "Just look at that broken thing." The words cut deep. They always did. Elinor turned around slowly. Her limp made her careful with each step. Her father stood by the fire. His face was cold. Her mother's lips were thin with disgust. "No man will want her," father said. He did not look at Elinor. He spoke like she was not there. "That leg, it marks her as cursed." Mother nodded. The midwife said it was God's will, a punishment. Elinor's heart broke a little more. She had heard this story her whole life. Born wrong, born cursed, born to bring shame to her family. "I have found a solution," father said. His voice was sharp. "Lord Gabriel needs a wife. He is damaged too. They will suit each other." "The scarred lord," mother gasped. "But the rumors." "He is our only choice." Father cut her off. "No other man will take her. This marriage will hide our shame." Elinor gripped the windowsill. Her knuckles went white. "What if I say no?" Both parents turned to her. Their eyes were like ice. "You will not say no." Father's voice was like thunder. "You cannot bring pride to this family. You will do as you are told." Mother stepped closer. "A curse fell on you at birth. You owe us this much." Hot tears filled Elinor's eyes, but she would not let them fall. "Not here, not in front of them." "When?" she whispered. "Next week," father said. "Pack your things. Lord Gabriel expects you Tuesday." Elinor limped to her room. Each step hurt her leg. Each step hurt her heart more. She sat on her bed. The room felt small, like a cage. Her whole life had been a cage. But deep in her chest, something flickered, a small flame that would not die. She did not know what it was yet. She did not know it was hope. Outside her window, storm clouds gathered. Tomorrow would bring change. She just did not know it would be the kind of change that would save her. Lord Gabriel stood in his great hall. Shadows danced on the stone walls. The fire crackled, but it could not warm the cold in his heart. His hand touched the scar on his cheek. 3 years old now, a gift from the war. The townspeople whispered when they saw it. They said he was cruel. They said he was cold. If only they knew the truth. "My lord," his steward said softly, "the girl arrives tomorrow." Gabriel nodded. He had agreed to this marriage, not for love, not even for money, but because a broken girl deserved kindness, and he understood being broken. The war had taken everything from him, his brothers, his friends, his faith in goodness. He came home to an empty house, empty halls, empty heart. But the war had taught him something else too. It taught him that scars do not make a person evil. Pain does not make someone worthless, and beauty, real beauty, came from the inside. "What do you know of her?" Gabriel asked. "Born with a limp," the steward said. "Her family calls her cursed. They want to be rid of her." Gabriel's jaw tightened. He had seen enough cruelty in war. He would not let it happen in his home. "Prepare the blue room," he said, "the one with morning light. Make sure the fire is always warm. Put books by the window, and flowers, fresh flowers every day." The steward looked surprised. "My lord." "She will be my wife," Gabriel said firmly. "She will be treated with honor." That night, Gabriel could not sleep. He walked his empty halls. Tomorrow, these walls would echo with new footsteps. Different footsteps. He thought of his own pain, the nights he woke screaming from dreams of battle, the way mirrors showed him a face he barely knew, the loneliness that ate at him like a disease. Maybe two broken people could help each other heal. Maybe this marriage would not be a punishment. Maybe it could be a gift. He did not dare hope for love, but kindness he could give, respect that he could offer. The girl was coming tomorrow. Elinor was her name. He would make sure she felt safe here. He would make sure she knew being different did not mean being less. The fire burned low. Dawn was coming, and with it, a new beginning for them both. The carriage rolled up the long drive. Elinor pressed her face to the window. Lord Gabriel's manor was huge. Stone towers reached toward grey clouds. It looked like something from a dark fairy tale. Her leg throbbed from the long ride. Her heart hammered against her ribs. In minutes, she would meet the man who would be her husband, the scarred lord, the cold lord, the lord no woman wanted to marry. Just like she was the girl no man wanted to marry. The carriage stopped. The door opened. Rain misted her face as she stepped down. Her left leg nearly gave out. She caught herself on the carriage door. "Careful," a deep voice said. She looked up and gasped. Lord Gabriel stood before her, tall, broad shoulders, dark hair touched with grey, and yes, a scar ran from his left temple to his jaw. It was white against his tanned skin. But his eyes were the deepest brown she had ever seen, and they were kind. "Lady Elinor," he said. He bowed, actually bowed to her. "Welcome to your new home." She stared at him. No one had called her lady before. No one had bowed to her, ever. "I thank you, my lord," she stammered. He stepped closer, but not too close. "You must be cold and tired. Come inside." He offered her his arm. She hesitated. At home, no one touched her unless they had to. Her limp made people uncomfortable. But Gabriel waited patiently. His arm was steady, strong. She took it. They walked up the steps together. Her limp made her slow. She waited for him to show irritation, to pull ahead, to make some comment about her pace. He did none of those things. He matched her speed perfectly, as if walking slowly was the most natural thing in the world. The great hall was warm. Huge tapestries hung on the walls. A fire blazed in a fireplace big enough to stand in. And everywhere, flowers, white roses, yellow daffodils, purple lavender. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "I hoped you would like it," Gabriel said, and he smiled. The scar pulled at his cheek, but the smile reached his eyes. It made him look not frightened at all. It made him look gentle. An older woman approached them. She had grey hair and a kind face. "This is Mrs. Ruth," Gabriel said. "She manages the household. She will help you settle in." Mrs. Ruth curtsied. "Welcome, my lady. Your room is ready. I hope you will be comfortable." "My lady," there it was again. Elinor felt tears prick her eyes, but these were different tears. These were good tears. Yes, thank you," she managed. Gabriel studied her face. "You look tired. Rest now. We can talk tomorrow." He did not demand her attention. He did not list rules she must follow. He simply let her be. As Mrs. Ruth led her up the wide staircase, Elinor looked back once. Gabriel still stood by the fire. The light flickered over his scarred face. He looked lonely. Just like she had been lonely her whole life. Maybe they understood each other already. "What?" Elinor woke to sunlight streaming through tall windows. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then it came back. The manor, Lord Gabriel, her new life. She sat up carefully. Her leg was always stiff in the mornings, but this bed was so soft, softer than any bed she had ever slept in. A fire crackled in the small fireplace. Someone had come in while she slept. Someone had made sure she was warm. A soft knock came at the door. "Come in," Elinor called. Mrs. Ruth entered with a tray. The smell of fresh bread filled the room, and tea, real tea, not the weak stuff her mother had given her. "Good morning, my lady," Mrs. Ruth said. "I thought you might be hungry." She set the tray by the window. There was a small table there, and a chair with soft cushions, and books, a whole stack of books. "Lord Gabriel said you might enjoy reading." Mrs. Ruth explained. "He has a large library. You are welcome to any book you wish." Elinor stared at the books. At home, she was not allowed to read. Her mother said it gave her ideas above her station. "He said I could read them," she asked. "As many as you like," Mrs. Ruth smiled. "He enjoys books himself. Perhaps you can discuss them together." After Mrs. Ruth left, Elinor ate slowly. The bread was still warm, the butter was sweet, the tea was perfect. She picked up one of the books, poetry. She had never been allowed to read poetry. A movement outside caught her eye. In the garden below, she saw Lord Gabriel. He was not dressed like a lord. He wore simple clothes. He was working, digging in the earth with his own hands. She watched him for a long time. The scar on his face was clear in the morning light, but his movements were gentle. He was planting flowers, taking care of growing things. At home, her father would never lower himself to work in the dirt. Lords gave orders. They did not get their hands dirty. But Gabriel was different. He was real. That afternoon, she limped down to the garden. Gabriel looked up from his work. His hands were covered in soil. "Good afternoon, Lady Elinor," he said. "Did you rest well?" "Yes, thank you." She hesitated. "The books, thank you for the books." His scarred face brightened. "Do you enjoy reading?" I think so. I was not allowed before." Something dark flickered in his eyes. "Not allowed." She looked down at her hands. "My mother said it was not proper for someone like me." Gabriel stood slowly. He wiped his hands on a cloth. "Someone like you." She could not meet his eyes. Someone cursed. The silence stretched between them. Then Gabriel spoke. His voice was very quiet, very firm. "You are not cursed," he said. "You are here, in my home, as my wife, and here you may read any book you wish. You may do anything that brings you joy." She looked up at him then. His brown eyes were fierce, but the fierceness was not directed at her. It was directed at anyone who had ever made her feel small. "Thank you," she whispered. He smiled again, that gentle smile that made his scar seem like nothing at all. "Would you like to see the roses?" he asked. "They are blooming beautifully this year." She nodded, and together they walked slowly through the garden. Her limp did not matter here. His scar did not matter either. For the first time in her life, Elinor felt like she belonged somewhere. 3 weeks passed like a gentle dream. Elinor read by her window each morning. She walked in the garden each afternoon, and slowly, she began to feel at home. Gabriel was always kind, always patient. He never stared at her limp. He never made her feel rushed or clumsy. But she sensed sadness in him too. Sometimes she caught him staring into the fire. His eyes would grow distant, like he was seeing ghosts. One morning, Mrs. Ruth knocked on her door, but this time she looked worried. "My lady," she said, "there is a sick child in the village. Little Mary, the baker's daughter. She has a fever that will not break. Her mother is desperate." Elinor's heart clenched. "What can I do?" "Lord Gabriel mentioned you have gentle hands. You helped your family when they were ill." It was true. At home, Elinor had always tended the sick. Her mother had said it was the least she could do to be useful. But Elinor had discovered she was good at it. She could feel when someone was truly sick. She could sense what would help them heal. "I could try," Elinor said slowly. Mrs. Ruth's face brightened. "Would you? I could show you where to find healing herbs, in the woods behind the manor." An hour later, Elinor walked carefully through the forest. Mrs. Ruth pointed out different plants: willow bark for fever, chamomile for sleep, mint for the stomach. Elinor's hands seemed to know which plants to pick, which leaves were the freshest, which roots held the most power. They prepared a tea in the manor kitchen, then they went to the village. Little Mary lay pale and still in her small bed. Her mother wept beside her. "Please," the woman begged, "please help her." Elinor sat carefully beside the bed. She touched the child's forehead. It burned with fever, but underneath she felt something else, something that told her the child would live, would heal. She gave Mary small sips of the tea. She bathed her face with cool water. She spoke to her in a soft, calm voice. "You are going to be well," she whispered. "Rest now. Let the medicine work." They stayed for hours. As evening came, the fever broke. Little Mary opened her eyes. She smiled weakly at her mother. The woman fell to her knees. "Thank you," she sobbed. "Thank you, my lady." Walking home in the twilight, Mrs. Ruth was quiet. Then she said, "You have a gift, my lady, a real gift." Elinor felt something warm spread through her chest. A gift, not a curse, a gift. When they reached the manor, Gabriel was waiting by the door. His face was anxious. "Is the child well?" he asked. "She will recover," Elinor said. Gabriel's smile was brilliant. "And you? How do you feel?" Elinor thought about it. How did she feel? For the first time in her life, she felt useful, needed, important. "I feel alive," she said. Gabriel stepped closer. "You saved that child's life today." I knew what to do. I could feel it." "That is the gift," Gabriel said softly. "That knowing, that feeling, it is rare, it is precious." That night, Elinor sat by her window. She looked out at the village lights below. Somewhere down there, little Mary was sleeping peacefully. Because of her, because of something she had done. Her limp had not mattered today. No one had even noticed it. They had seen only her hands, her knowledge, her care. Maybe she was not broken after all. Maybe she was exactly who she was meant to be. The fine summer nights at the manor were soft and warm. Elinor had taken to sitting in the garden after dinner. The roses smelled sweetest in the evening air. Tonight, Gabriel joined her on the stone bench. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then he spoke. "You saved another child today," he said. "That makes 4 this month." Elinor felt her cheeks warm. Word had spread about her healing touch. People came from villages miles away, seeking her help, trusting her with their sick children, their elderly parents, their suffering. "I like helping them," she said softly. "And they love you for it," Gabriel replied. "I see how they look at you, like you are an angel." She turned to study his profile. The scar caught the moonlight. "What about you?" she asked. "What did you do before?" Gabriel was quiet for a long moment. She thought he would not answer. Then he sighed. "I was different then," he said. "Younger, more careless. I thought life would always be easy, safe." "What changed?" "I lost my brothers," he said simply, "both of them in the same battle where I got this." He touched his scar. "James died in my arms. William, I never even found his body." Elinor's heart broke for him. "I am so sorry." "I came home to emptiness," Gabriel continued. "Everyone looked at me like I was a stranger. The scar, it frightened them. They thought it meant I was dangerous, violent." "But you are the gentlest man I have ever known," Elinor said. Gabriel turned to look at her. His brown eyes were bright with unshed tears. "You see me?" he whispered. "The real me, not the scar, not the rumors, just me." "And you see me," she replied. "Not the limp, not the curse they said I carried, just me." Gabriel reached out slowly. He took her hand in both of his. His hands were warm, calloused from his garden work, strong and gentle at the same time. "I need to tell you something," he said. "This marriage, it was arranged. But what I feel for you now, that is real, that is choice." Elinor's pulse quickened. "What do you feel?" "I feel," he paused, searching for words. "I feel like I have been sleeping for 3 years, and you have woken me up." She looked down at their joined hands. Her heart was beating so fast she was sure he could hear it. "I was afraid to hope," she whispered. I was afraid you would see what everyone else sees, a broken girl who brings bad luck. Gabriel lifted her chin with his free hand, made her look at him. Do you know what I see when I look at you? She shook her head. I see a woman who heals with her touch, who reads poetry by candlelight, who tends my roses like they are precious jewels, who makes my empty house feel like home. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Good tears, happy tears. I see the bravest person I have ever known, Gabriel continued, because you survived a family that tried to break you, and you came out whole, you came out kind. I do not feel brave, she admitted. That is what makes you brave, he said. You do not see your own strength, but I do. Everyone in the village does. He leaned closer. May I kiss you? He asked softly. She nodded. She had never been kissed before, had never thought anyone would want to kiss her. Gabriel's lips were gentle on hers, soft, sweet, like a promise, like a beginning. When they parted, she rested her forehead against his. I love you, she whispered. The words came from somewhere deep inside her, somewhere she had kept hidden even from herself. And I love you, Gabriel replied, my brave healer, my beautiful wife. Under the stars, in the garden they both tended, two broken people discovered they could make each other whole. Tisli, mal iarubiste mal not to speak. Orthov tai is the goal. The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning in early autumn. Elinor was in the still room, preparing medicines for the coming winter. She had learned so much in the months since her first healing. Mrs. Ruth had taught her. The village wise woman had shared secrets, but most of all, she had learned to trust her own instincts. Gabriel found her there, crushing dried herbs. His face was grim. Your family is coming, he said quietly. He held out the letter. Elinor's hands stilled. Her family, she had not seen them since her wedding day, had not wanted to. What do they want? She asked. They do not say, only that they will arrive tomorrow. Elinor felt the old fear creeping back, the familiar tightness in her chest, the voice in her head that whispered, you are not good enough, you are cursed, you are a burden. Gabriel knelt beside her chair. Look at me, he said gently. She met his eyes, those warm brown eyes that had shown her nothing but love. You are not the same girl who left their house, he said. You are Lady Elinor now, the healer, the woman half the county comes to for help. Remember that. She nodded, but her hands shook as she tried to continue her work. The next afternoon, her parents' carriage arrived. Elinor stood in the great hall, Gabriel beside her. She wore her finest dress. Her hair was properly arranged. She looked every inch the lady of the manor. But inside, she felt 12 years old again, small and frightened and wrong. Her parents entered like they owned the place. Father's eyes swept the rich furnishings. Mother's lips were pinched with disapproval. Elinor, Mother said. Not even a greeting, just her name, spoken like a disappointment. Mother, Father. Elinor's voice was steady. She was proud of that. You look... Mother paused, studying her. Different. I am well, Elinor replied. Father stepped forward. We have come on business. There are rumors about you. Disturbing rumors. What rumors? Gabriel's voice was cold as winter stone. Father barely glanced at him. They say she practices healing, that she dabbles in herbs and potions. It is not proper for a lady of good breeding. Elinor felt anger flare in her chest. I help sick people. I save lives. You draw attention, Mother snapped. People talk. They say you have unnatural abilities. There is nothing unnatural about kindness, Gabriel said. His voice could have cut glass. Father turned on him. You were supposed to control her, to keep her quiet, hidden. Instead, you parade her around like she is some sort of saint. She is my wife, Gabriel said. Each word was precise, dangerous. She is the lady of this manor, and she is the most gifted healer I have ever known. Mother laughed, a bitter, ugly sound. Gifted, she is cursed, has been since birth. We told you that when we arranged this marriage. You told me many things, Gabriel replied, but I have learned the truth. Something in his tone made both parents pause. Gabriel stepped forward. I have been making inquiries about Elinor's birth, about the circumstances of her condition. Elinor stared at him. He had been investigating her past. The midwife who delivered her, Gabriel continued. She is still alive. Old Meg in Lower Village. She told me a very interesting story. Father's face went white. That old woman is addled. Nothing she says can be trusted. She remembers that night clearly, Gabriel said. She remembers how you raged when your child was born a girl instead of a boy, how you struck your wife, how you demanded she find a way to make the child marked, so you could claim she was cursed, so you could have an excuse to treat her badly. The silence in the room was deafening. The midwife broke the child's leg. Gabriel's voice was like steel now. On your orders, you created the very curse you have punished Elinor for her entire life. Elinor felt the world tilt around her. What? Gabriel turned to her, his eyes gentle despite the fury in his voice. You were born perfect, love. They broke you on purpose, to have an excuse to treat you as less than human. The truth hit her like a physical blow. All those years, all that pain, all that shame, based on a lie, based on a cruelty so deep she could barely comprehend it. You monster, she whispered, looking at her father. You destroyed my childhood for nothing. Father drew himself up. We did what was necessary. You were a useless girl child. At least this way, you served a purpose. Something snapped inside Elinor. All the years of bending, all the years of believing she was wrong, all the years of accepting their cruelty. No more. She stepped forward. Her limp no longer felt like a weakness. It felt like a badge of survival. Get out of my house, she said. Her voice rang through the great hall. Elinor, Mother began. Get out. The words came from the depths of her soul. You are not welcome here. You will never be welcome here again. Father's face twisted with rage. You cannot speak to us this way. We are your parents. You owe us. I owe you nothing, Elinor said. Each word was crystal clear. You broke a baby's leg to create a lie. You tortured a child for your own amusement. You are not parents. You are monsters. Gabriel stepped beside her. You heard my wife. Leave now before I have you thrown out. For a moment, Father looked like he might argue. Then he saw Gabriel's face, saw the promise of violence there. This is not over, he snarled. Yes, Elinor said quietly, it is. Her parents left like the cowards they were, slinking away without another word. When the door closed behind them, Elinor collapsed into Gabriel's arms. She was shaking, but not with fear, with relief, with freedom. I am so sorry, Gabriel whispered into her hair. I am so sorry they did that to you. You knew? She asked. I suspected. The story never made sense. Curses are not real, but cruelty is very real. She pulled back to look at him. Why did you not tell me sooner? Because you needed to find your own strength first. You needed to know your own worth, so when the truth came, it could not break you. She understood. If she had learned this truth months ago, she might have crumbled, might have been consumed by rage and pain. But now she was strong enough to bear it, strong enough to survive it, strong enough to move beyond it. I am not cursed, she said wonderingly. You never were, Gabriel replied. You were blessed, with healing hands, with a kind heart, with the strength to survive hell and come out whole. That night, they burned the letter her parents had sent, watched the flames consume the last connection to her poisoned past. She was free now, truly free, free to be who she had always been meant to be. A healer, a lady, a woman beloved. The curse was broken, not because it never existed, but because she had finally stopped believing in it. Lubuthen, Watime. Winter melted into spring, then spring bloomed into summer, and with each passing season, Elinor grew stronger, braver, more certain of who she was. The village had changed too. Where once people whispered and stared, now they smiled and waved. Children ran to her when she walked through the market. Mothers brought their babies for her to bless. She had become more than a healer. She had become hope itself. On this particular morning, she stood before the village council, something that would have terrified her a year ago. Now she felt calm, confident. She belonged here. Lady Elinor, the head councilman, said, "We have a request." She nodded for him to continue. "The harvest festival is coming. We would like you to be our honored guest, to sit at the head table, to give the blessing over the feast." A year ago she would have stammered, made excuses, tried to hide. Today she smiled. "I would be honored." Murmurs of approval swept through the small crowd. These people loved her, actually loved her, not despite her limp, but because of everything she was. After the meeting, she walked home slowly, enjoying the sunshine on her face, the birds singing in the trees, the simple joy of being alive. Gabriel was waiting in their garden. He was always waiting for her now, like he could not bear to be apart from her for long. "How did it go?" he asked, pulling her into his arms. "They want me to bless the harvest," she said. "Me, the girl who was once called cursed." Gabriel spun her around, careful of her leg. "Of course they do. You are the heart of this place now." It was true. Somehow, without trying, she had become the person people turned to, not just for healing, but for advice, for comfort, for hope. "Sometimes, I cannot believe this is my life," she said. "Believe it," Gabriel replied. "You earned every moment of this happiness." That evening, they received another visitor, but this one was welcome. Mrs. Ruth announced her with a smile. "Lady Catherine is here to see you, my lady." Lady Catherine was the Duchess of the neighboring county. Elinor had met her briefly at a social gathering. She was elegant, educated, and surprisingly kind. "Lady Elinor," Catherine said as she entered the drawing room, "I hope you do not mind my calling unannounced." "Not at all, Your Grace," Elinor replied. "Please, sit. May I offer you tea?" As they settled with their cups, Catherine studied Elinor carefully. "I have been hearing stories about you," she said finally. Elinor tensed slightly. Stories could be good or bad. Catherine must have seen her expression because she smiled. "Good stories, wonderful stories, about a young woman who can heal with her touch, who has transformed an entire village with her kindness." "I simply do what I can," Elinor said modestly. "No," Catherine said firmly. "You do much more than that. You give people hope. In a world that can be cruel, you show them that goodness still exists." She leaned forward. "I have a proposal for you." "A proposal?" "I am starting a school for young women of all social classes to teach them healing arts, management skills, things that will help them be independent, strong." Catherine paused. "I want you to help me lead it." Elinor stared at her. "Me?" "You," Catherine confirmed. "You have lived both sides of life. You know what it means to be powerless, and you know what it means to find your strength. These girls, they need to see that. They need to see you." Gabriel reached for Elinor's hand. "It is your choice, love. But I think you could change many lives." Elinor thought of all the girls like her former self, told they were worthless, told they were cursed, told they were less than human. What if someone could show them different? What if someone could teach them their worth? "Yes," she said quietly. "Yes, I will help you." Catherine's smile was radiant. "Wonderful. We start in the fall. And Elinor, this is just the beginning. I have a feeling you are going to change the world." That night, lying in Gabriel's arms, Elinor marveled at the path her life had taken, from the broken girl in her parents' house to this, a respected lady, a gifted healer, a teacher, a leader. "Are you happy?" Gabriel asked softly. She thought about it, truly thought about it. "I am more than happy," she said finally. "I am complete." And she was. The scared, limping girl was still part of her, would always be part of her. But now she was also the confident woman, the healer, the teacher, the beloved wife. She was all of herself, the broken parts and the strong parts, the past pain and the present joy. She was exactly who she was meant to be. The harvest festival dawned bright and golden. The entire village had worked for weeks to prepare. Colorful banners hung from every window. Tables groaned under platters of food. Musicians tuned their instruments in the square. And at the center of it all, Elinor. She stood before her mirror, adjusting her dress. It was deep blue silk, embroidered with silver threads. Gabriel had commissioned it specially for today. She looked beautiful. For the first time in her life, she could look in a mirror and think that word about herself. "Ready?" Gabriel asked from the doorway. He wore his finest clothes too. Lord and Lady of the Manor, dressed for celebration. "I think so," she said, but her voice shook slightly. Gabriel approached her slowly. "What is it, love?" "A year ago, I could barely speak to Mrs. Ruth," she said. "Today I am supposed to address the entire village, give a blessing, be important." Gabriel took her hands. "You have always been important. Today everyone simply gets to see it." They walked together through the village streets. People called out greetings. Children threw flower petals at their feet. Elinor's limp barely slowed her now. She had learned to walk with confidence despite it, to hold her head high. The feast tables were arranged in the village square. At the head table 2 chairs waited, the places of honor. As they approached, the entire village rose to their feet, hundreds of people, all looking at her with respect, with love, with gratitude. "Lady Elinor," someone called out, "the blessing." She climbed onto the small platform that had been built for the occasion, looked out over the sea of faces, young and old, rich and poor, all of them her people now. "Friends," she began, her voice carried clearly in the evening air. "A year ago, I came to this village as a stranger, frightened, broken, believing I was cursed. Murmurs of sympathy rippled through the crowd. But you showed me something," she continued. "You showed me that curses have no power over love, that being different does not mean being less, that broken things can become beautiful when they are held with care." A few people wiped away tears. "This harvest celebrates more than grain and fruit," Elinor said, her voice growing stronger. "It celebrates growth, change, the miracle of small seeds becoming great trees, of tiny acts of kindness becoming movements of hope." She paused, looking directly at Gabriel, at Mrs. Ruth, at little Mary, now healthy and bright-eyed. "I bless this feast," she said. "I bless this village. I bless every person here who showed a limping girl that she could learn to fly." The cheers were deafening. People laughed and cried and applauded all at once. As she stepped down from the platform, Gabriel was waiting. His eyes shone with pride. "That," he said, "is the woman I fell in love with, the woman I will love until my dying day." The feast that followed was magical. Elinor moved from table to table, speaking with everyone. She held babies and blessed crops, and listened to stories and gave advice. She was not just the lady of the manor anymore. She was the heart of the community, the person people turned to when they needed hope. As the evening grew late, the dancing began. Gabriel led her onto the makeshift dance floor. They moved slowly, carefully, her limp requiring a different rhythm than the other couples. But no one stared. No one whispered. They simply smiled and made room, adjusting their own steps to match the gentle pace of the Lord and Lady they loved. "Look around," Gabriel murmured in her ear as they swayed together. She did. Everywhere she looked, she saw acceptance. joy, community, love. This is what you built, Gabriel said. With your kindness, your healing, your refusal to believe the lies they told you about yourself. Later, much later, they walked home through streets lit by lanterns and stars. Elinor's leg ached from the long day, but her heart was full to bursting. "Gabriel," she said, as they reached their door. "Yes, love, I want to tell you something I have never said to anyone." He turned to face her fully, giving her his complete attention. "I am grateful," she said simply, "for the limp, for the pain, for everything I went through." Gabriel's eyebrows rose in surprise. "Because," she continued, "if I had been born perfect, if I had been the beautiful, unmarked daughter my parents wanted, I would never have become who I am now. I would never have learned compassion. I would never have found my gift for healing. I would never have met you." She took his scarred face in her hands. "Our wounds made us who we are. They taught us to see beyond surfaces, to value what truly matters." Gabriel's eyes filled with tears. "My brave, wise, beautiful wife." "Your grateful, happy, completely blessed wife," she corrected. They kissed there in the doorway, two people who had found each other across pain and fear and shame. Two people who had built something beautiful from the broken pieces of their past. The girl who had once been called cursed was now the woman they called blessed. And she knew with absolute certainty that her story was far from over. There were more people to heal, more lives to touch, more hope to spread. The broken girl had become a healer, but more than that, she had become exactly who she was always meant to be. Whole, loved, free, perfect in her imperfection, beautiful in her brokenness, blessed in every way that truly mattered. Her real life had finally begun. Petty. The morning sun streamed through the windows of Elinor's study. Maps covered her desk. Letters from across the kingdom were stacked in neat piles. Plans for the new healing academy covered every available surface. Lady Catherine's school had been such a success that nobles from other counties were begging Elinor to help them start similar programs. Young women travelled from distant lands to learn from the famous healer. The girl once called cursed had become known throughout the realm as the Lady of Hope. A soft knock interrupted her work. "Come in," she called. Gabriel entered, carrying a tea tray and wearing an expression of fond exasperation. "You promised you would take a break," he said, setting the tea beside her papers. "That was 3 hours ago." Elinor looked up from the letter she was writing to a duchess in the northern counties. "Was it really? Time moves so quickly when you are changing the world," Gabriel finished with a smile. "Yes, I have noticed." He perched on the edge of her desk, careful not to disturb her. Careful organization. "What crisis are you solving today?" "Lady Margaret wants to establish a healing school in her county, but the local physicians are fighting her. They claim women cannot learn true medicine." Gabriel snorted. "Have they met you?" Elinor grinned. "That is exactly what I told her to tell them. I also sent her the testimonials from our first class of graduates." Their school now had over 40 graduates, young women who had gone back to their villages and towns as trained healers, who had opened their own practices, who had saved countless lives. And not one of them had been born into nobility. They came from farms and shops and servant quarters, girls who had been told they were nothing, who had learned they were everything. Speaking of graduates, Gabriel said, "Did you hear? Mary finished her training in the capital. She will be the royal physician's new assistant." Mary, little Mary, the baker's daughter whom Elinor had saved from fever years ago, now a fully trained healer in her own right. "I am so proud of her," Elinor said softly. She wrote that she tells everyone the Lady of Hope saved her twice, once from fever and once from believing she could never be more than a baker's daughter. Elinor felt tears prick her eyes. She still cried easily when she heard about her girls succeeding, happy tears, proud tears. "There is something else," Gabriel said. His voice had changed, become more serious. "What is it?" He pulled a letter from his jacket, official looking, with a royal seal. Elinor's eyes widened. "Is that—" "From the Queen herself," Gabriel confirmed. "She wants to meet you, to discuss, and I quote, establishing healing academies throughout the kingdom under the guidance of the renowned Lady Elinor." For a moment, Elinor could not breathe. The Queen wanted to meet her. The girl who had once hidden in her room, ashamed of her limp. "What do you think?" Gabriel asked gently. "Is not in thought of all the girls still trapped in families like her old one, still being told they were worthless, still believing the lies. I think," she said slowly, "that we should start packing for the capital." Gabriel's smile could have lit up the entire manor. "That is my brave wife." That evening, they walked together through their village, past the houses of people they had known for years, past the school where young women came to learn, past the healing center where Elinor still saw patients twice a week. Children ran up to greet them, as they always did. Adults called out warm hellos. This place, these people, had become more than home. They had become family. "Are you ready to leave all this?" Gabriel asked as they paused by the village fountain, "even temporarily?" Elinor looked around, at the life they had built, the community they had helped create, the peace they had found. "I am not leaving it," she said finally. "I am taking it with me. Everything we have learned here, every person we have helped, every life that has been changed, it all comes with us." She took Gabriel's hand. "We are going to take our little miracle and share it with the world." Gabriel brought her hand to his lips, kissed her fingers gently. "Our little miracle? A place where broken people can become healers, where cursed girls can become blessings, where love matters more than appearance, and kindness matters more than perfection. And you," Gabriel said softly, "are the heart of that miracle." Elinor shook her head. "We are the heart of it. All of us, everyone who chose to see beyond the surface, everyone who chose to heal instead of harm." As they walked home, Elinor thought about the girl she used to be, frightened, ashamed, convinced she was worthless. That girl was still part of her, would always be part of her, but now she was surrounded by so much more: confidence, purpose, love, joy. The broken places had become the strongest places. The scars had become proof of survival. The limp that once marked her as cursed now carried her toward a destiny she could never have imagined. Tomorrow she would begin preparing for the journey to the capital, to meet the Queen, to discuss healing academies throughout the kingdom. But tonight she was simply Elinor, beloved wife, trusted healer, cherished friend. The girl who had been called cursed, who had become the woman they called blessed. And her story, her beautiful, impossible, miraculous story, was still being written. One healed heart at a time, one changed life at a time, one small miracle at a time. The curse had been broken, the blessing had begun. And it would continue as long as there were broken people who needed to know they could become whole. As long as there were frightened girls who needed to know they could become strong. As long as there was love in the world to heal the wounded places, forever and always. The end.